Hi Tweedy, I've been working with Nick Dobrick with British thalidomide victims. We've been working together now for 6 years, and we first managed to get tax exemption for British thalidomide victims, which was concluded on the 4th of August 2004 with tax exemption. And then having done that, we went back to Diageo, which were the inheritors of the thalidomide drug from distillers, and we secured a long-term financial plan with £160 million. That won't make any British thalidomiders rich, but it'll give financial security over the next 30 years with real increases, index-linked. And then having done that, we decided to look at the German situation, and Nick and I were horrified to find that the German thalidomiders got, not one of them gets more than £4,000 a year. So we started to meet up with one or two German thalidomiders, and we decided to create this international Contingent Thalidomide Alliance, which has now got other countries involved from Ireland, Canada, Sweden, Austria, Italy and Spain. And
what about countries like Japan, Australia, things like that? I heard also.
Well, Japan's a strange one because Japan, there's about 317 thalidomide victims in Japan, but Japanese said they invented the drug, because back in the 50s they were pinching a lot of ideas from countries all over the world. Because they say they invented it, there's no claim for them to against Chemi Grunenthal.
Right. So could Chemi Grunenthal get hold of that information and say, well, we're not liable for it?
Well, no, because it's known throughout the world that the Chemi Grunenthal did invent it.
Oh.
So that argument goes. When there's a second generation, or not a second generation, a younger generation who live in South America, but that
Brazil.
Brazil. But because by then it was known that thalidomide was a bad drug and caused birth defects, that there's no comeback on that score as well. But you know, worldwide there's about 3,500 to 4,000 people that we'd like to help compensate. And that's
how did you and Nick join? Because you're from both different ends of England, aren't you?
No, but we've been working together for 5 years anyway. I mean,
how did that happen? Through an association?
No. I first met Nick in Parliament on December the 9th, 2002, when I went to Parliament to listen to a debate by Jonathan Gianogli, who was the MP for Huntington, where the trust is based. And we met up and we decided to work together, and we've been working together ever since. And we decided to do, we've done the tax, we've done more money from Diageo, now we're after the the German company Grunenthal, as well as the German government. And it's got to be done jointly, because the German government first of all passed a foundation law in 1971 to say that German thalidomiders can never campaign again or complain. And the second thing is that they've been paying the money for the last 10 years anyway, because the money that was given out in 71 ran out in 97. So they've been paying this money to the German thalidomiders, and it's just ridiculously small amount, £4,000 a year. I mean, a comparison is the average payment to a British thalidomider is £18,000, and that's for somebody with no arms. And yet in Germany, nobody gets more than £4,000 no matter how damaged they are. And we were horrified as well to find that the Spanish and the Italians and the Austrians have never had a penny. And it was only in the last 6 months that it was only in the last 6 months that the Spanish government have come out and said, oh yeah, we were using a thalidomide drug between 59 and 61.
So you are?
Jonathan Stone.
And you work for?
I'm a special advisor to the National Advisory Council of the Thalidomide Trust and to the International Contingent Thalidomide Alliance.
And how did you get involved in working with the thalidomiders?
About 4 years ago, a mutual friend of Nick Dobrick and mine said, a friend of mine, that's to say Nick, is very involved in trying to help the thalidomiders. He's only become part of the thalidomide scene quite recently, and I think he needs some real experience in campaigning, and I know that you've had a lot of experience, which is what I have had, and I think he needs some grey hairs too. So I was hard when he told me that it was about thalidomide, I really responded very positively because being of a certain age now, the thalidomide story was very important to me as I was starting my career in the law. And I knew the legal advisor to Thomson Newspapers, who owned the Sunday Times, who carried the campaign to the courts and to Europe to try and get a decent settlement for the British thalidomiders in the late 60s and 70s. So I knew all about the background, and I've been involved with two major public campaigns in the UK over the last 35 years. So since I'm retired, I had the time, and I certainly had the interest and energy to do it.
And I believe that you're doing this completely as sort of free of charge.
Oh yes, certainly. I'm a volunteer. Yes, I'm doing it pro bono. In fact, it actually cost me quite a lot of money. For example, this morning I paid for the rooms in the hotel because the Alliance has no money, doesn't have any funds, and of course it takes a great deal of time and my secretary's time at home. But I'm happy to put that money into the project.
And how do you feel it's progressing since you've worked with them?
I think it's been progressing fantastically well because we have a very good team, particularly with Guy and with Nick Dobrick and Jeff Adams-Spink. People with whom I can work very easily and happily, and things have moved very well. For example, I wasn't involved in the original negotiations, but was very pleased to see the result of the activities of Nick and Guy getting the tax relief for the British thalidomiders, which was very important. They were being taxed quite highly on the payments from the Thalidomide Trust. I had some involvement in the deal with Diageo because I discussed with Nick in some detail the question of strategy as to how to conduct the negotiations. Nick was absolute master of the figure work, but he said that he wasn't quite sure how to present things to the Diageo company. And in the result, the arrangement that was arrived at in 2004, which was then implemented a year later in 2005, was extremely advantageous for the British thalidomiders. It gave them a major boost to their support monies. I never referred to the monies as compensation because frankly you can't compensate for the damage that was done to the thalidomide victims in the womb.
For example, for the Spanish, which is, I just wondered how the alliance is I mean, I know that you spoke today about getting all thalidomiders to Germany to have them examined and to check whether they're not thalidomiders or not, but you're not going to ask for each individual's countries to provide medical testing, or are you?
Well, that isn't really my role. My role really is to work on strategy for the campaign and to implement some parts of that strategy. For example, today, basically the campaign was my project, but a good number of people actually worked on it. I mean, Guy has been very important in the campaign in terms of putting together, for example, all the placards and the banners. I mean, I couldn't do everything, and therefore it's been important to have colleagues working alongside me. And but I'm not concerned with the detail. Mm-hmm. I'm concerned with the overall strategy to try and bring this ship home with all the nationalities on board. British thalidomiders consider themselves to be relatively speaking, very well off compared with the German thalidomiders. And of course, in absolute terms, in phenomenally good position compared with the Austrians, the Italians, and the Spanish. And there's a great deal of solidarity and a great deal of sympathy felt by the British victims for their brothers and sisters abroad who've been treated so shabbily. Particularly the 2,700, very, very large number of German victims.
What I'm trying to get to is the Spanish, the Austrians and the Italians that have seen no compensation whatsoever. Do you think that, or how do you think we can, an agreement can be made for them to be recognised and gain some kind of compensation?
I think there are a number of different levels at which this has to operate, and that's really an issue that I haven't been involved in. I don't know enough about the mechanics. I know nothing about the mechanics of the health service in Spain. I know nothing about campaigning in Spain. I know nothing about the political structure in Spain. Nor do I know anything about, or very much about it in Italy, and certainly nothing in Austria. So I think that's going to be something that has to be worked out down the track. I don't think I would want to opine on the methodology of implementing a form of settlement to the benefit of those three countries, thalidomiders.
Sorry, do you want a glass of water or something?
Yes, please. That's what happens when you talk too much. Which is the television company?
It's not a television company.
It's not television.
Yeah, it's a documentary.
It's
a private documentary we're going to hopefully sell to the Spanish.
Oh, I see. Yes, yes.
No, it was my you know, what I would like to try and find out off camera for the moment is you know, Spanish, who are the people that I'm making the documentary for, hitting their head against a brick wall all the time, have been for the last 40, 50 years.
Have they been hitting their head against? Have they been trying to do something?
Yes. They have. But it's not been easy. I mean, you know that Franco was in power and...
yeah, but Franco's been out of power a long time now.
Yes. But anyway, they finally, after a long time, managed to get the governments to agree to testing all the thalidomiders. But they've only done this through photographs, and the woman that's been doing the reports claimed the other day, I mean, I watched her interview to the press, saying that most thalidomiders not only have the visual deformities, but also have all their internal organs deformed as well. And she's saying things that aren't actually true facts. Sorry, but my English, since I've lived abroad, I can't speak English anymore, so I hope you're understanding what I'm saying.
Yes.
But I don't think that the professional medical team in Spain have the experience.
Probably not.
But what I'm trying to get to is the alliance going to try and make all the victims...
I can answer that, because what we want to see happen is that we'd like to see...
I don't think...
We'd like to see the German thalidomiders get 6 times more than they're getting now index linked, and that would like to cover the Austrians, Italians and the Spanish would also get that level of amount, as well as the €1,000,000 on average spread over 10 years index linked. But I think what would have to happen is that there'd have to be a proper medical panel set up to identify the thalidomide victims from those 3 countries, and then it would work on a point system for the €1,000,000, because €1,000,000 would be on average. So if you've got no arms, you get €1,000,000. If you've got no legs and no arms, you'd have maybe €1.85 million. And if you're somebody like me, slightly affected, you'd be about €500,000. But the initial thing is to get them identified as thalidomiders, and they would fall under the 6 times more than they're getting now under the German settlement, and then everybody around the world will get the €1,000,000 on average. That's what I'd like to see happen.
And how-
Sorry, you probably know that there are quite a number of indications of birth defects whereby teratogenic children have been born who have not been exposed to any thalidomide at all. I saw somebody not very long ago. She was quite a young person who had, to me, seemingly thalidomide characteristics, but she wasn't a thalidomider. So it is important for a proper medical examination to take place, whether it's to be done in Spain or whether the Spanish government brings in somebody from Sweden or the UK to do it, is really down the track. I mean, the essential thing is to get a basic formula to be worked out, and those people who then are caught in the net to benefit from that formula will get their appropriate adequate share of the money that's available. But I don't think we can get involved in the methodology of how the money is going to be divvied up down the track when we haven't got any money to divvy up in the first place.
Yeah, quite. But what I was quite shocked from what I've heard so far about the Spanish testing has been done only through photographs so far.
I think it's wholly unsatisfactory to do it in that way.
And also
Totally perfunctory.
Pepe Riquelme, the president of Avite, has shown me I think 100 of these letters that have been sent by to all the victims that have been tested through these photographs, and whether their mother has the tablet packet still or not, or the prescription from the doctor. And none of them seem to tally. They don't follow it, so they suddenly say, oh, well, if you haven't got 2 arms missing, then you're probably not. You're probably not. But nothing, it's not, there's...
I know nothing about the medical manifestations and how, for example, the long-term advisor to the Thalidomide Trust, Klaus Newman, is it Klaus Newman?
Yeah, he's one of the leading experts, but he's he's getting on and
We're going to see him on Saturday, yeah.
He must be
Very
quite antique now. I mean, he was doing that 40 years ago.
Well, this is what I believe happened in Japan years back. They called Dr. Lenz to be a witness in court for the thalidomiders against their distributors.
The licensees.
Licensees. And Lenz went to be a witness
Yes.
to Japan. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, don't you think...
Well, Lenz is still alive, but I mean, he must be a great age. Great age.
I'm not talking about Lenz himself, but there must be younger doctors who are more au fait with the thalidomide
Well, I wonder.
subject.
I wonder.
In Britain or in Germany.
I wonder. You see, there have been no new entrants to the thalidomide scene for 46 years. So why would there be new people with experience to form views about?
Well, the Spanish. I mean, the Spanish have never admitted it, so they've never followed it, so they don't really know.
No, absolutely, I understand
thalidomide.
that.
And that's what I'm saying. The Germans, the British, and what other countries that are,
Maybe Australians, I don't know.
have expert doctors.
But
There's a professor in Macready in Australia that's written a book about thalidomide.
yes, but she's a scientist. She's not a paediatrician. She's not an orthopedic. I don't know into what category of medicine assessment of thalidomide characteristics actually falls. I mean, is it orthopedics? I don't know.
Well, this is what you're saying before of non-thalidomide deformities. I just wondered if now with technology, if there is any form of genetic testing that you can tell and cross off the ones that.
Yes, I mean that very likely that's possible, but I'm not a geneticist.
But I mean, do you think that I'm asking these questions because I'm just wondering if you think that this is probably what will be necessary to get.
I think that what's interesting is that when we did the Diageo deal, that a year after the deal was set, on the 8th of December 2005, as of the 31st of December 2006, Diageo wouldn't look at any new thalidomiders. So the Thalidomide Trust have put in place a system whereby anybody that comes forward, they will be able to assess possible thalidomiders, and maybe we could help in that way. And there are 1 or 2 doctors in Germany that might be able to help.
Like with the new case that came out in the 80s and 90s in Brazil, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, just recently there was about, since the Diageo deal was done, about half a dozen new thalidomiders have come forward and been accepted by the Thalidomide Trust as being British thalidomiders.
Okay.
I mean, after all, Guy was accepted as a thalidomider
In 96.
only 12 years ago.
Because you've never been, you never thought you were a thalidomider before?
No, my mother didn't want to know. So I saw, but it's funny because I saw Klaus Newman at the time.
In 96.
Yeah, well, it was 91, and then it took 5 years of mucking about with Guinness to just get them organised. But I saw Klaus Newman in London,
Who,
91.
who told you you were or you were not?
No, that I was.
That
He
you were.
wrote a report and conclusively said that was thalidomide, and then obviously Guinness's job was to sort of say that I wasn't, so they didn't have to pay out.
But tell me, Guy, what form of test? I mean, this may be
Well,
quite
so-
indicative. What
No,
form of test?
No, it's interesting. What happened was I went to see him in London. I think it was at Roehampton, and he did a full check of my arms and shoulders. And then what he did, he asked me to get X-rays done on my arms and shoulders, which I had done in Harrogate. They were sent down to him, and he wrote a conclusive report of why that I was a thalidomide. They were sent to.
What was the rationale?
Well, I don't know. It's all medical terminology. I couldn't understand.
Rhubarb.
Well, yeah, but the bottom line was that I was thalidomide, and they eventually conceded in '96.
Right. And your mother had your mother ever admitted to having taken the
No,
drug?
I think there was a lot of. You see, what's interesting, a lot of parents had a lot of guilt taking the thalidomide drug, so they didn't want to know and they would blame the husbands or whatever, and it was very difficult. I mean, what's quite interesting, a lot of the later beneficiaries to the trust, fathers were doctors who prescribed the drug thalidomide to the wives, and there was so much guilt they didn't want to know.
The doctors, the fathers?
Yeah, the fathers, because they were the doctors that prescribed, because when the drug was realised to be a bad drug in 1961 when it was taken off the market, doctors were so frightened up and down the country that they were going to be sued. They were running into everybody's houses, raiding the bathroom cabinets to see if there was any thalidomide there, because they were so frightened. But you can't even blame the doctors, because in 1958 it was a government agency called the Cone Committee said it was a great drug, a proven value, should be used, and it was used for the health service. So it wasn't the doctor's fault. It was the powers that be in the UK that allowed the drug to be used from 58 onwards.
Yeah, it's just like the German film Countergun.
Yeah.
The woman that gets prescribed it says, the doctor says, well, I give it, my wife takes it as well.
Yeah.
So obviously, she trusted what her doctor had said to her.
Exactly, but it wasn't a
You've seen the
doctor's
film,
fault.
Yeah.
It wasn't a doctor's fault.
And unfortunately, the film, the Spanish do not want to buy the film. It's not.
Well, it hasn't been bought. It hasn't been shown yet in the UK, but there is a possibility that it will be shown in October, November, I think, this year.
Mm-hmm.
The BBC are considering it at the moment, actively considering it.
Okay. Do you have you spoken? Do you know the German production company at all?
Oh yes, very well. Yes,
Okay.
I thought that the lawyer with whom I've been in very close contact in the last about 8 months now.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be over here today.
Yes, Mirek Nitsch. I thought he was going to be here.
The lawyer that is the actual lawyer they talk about in the film?
No,
or
no,
the-
no,
the
no, no,
battles
no,
for the
no,
film to
no,
be...
the lawyer within Zeitsprung.
Okay. Is
The
the
film
lawyer
producers.
Grunenthal didn't want for the film to go out on air? Is that what you're talking about?
No, he's the lawyer, in-house lawyer to Zeitsprung, which is the production company of
Oh,
Eine
okay.
einzige Tablette.
Okay. Okay. No, I thought you were talking about
No.
the lawyer.
No, the funny thing was he was one of the other people that didn't want the film to be shown as well. As well as Kemi Grunenthal wanting 38 extractions taken from the film, it was the lawyer as well.
Schulte Hillen.
Yeah, didn't want the film to be shown either.
Why not?
I don't quite understand.
I think it was just something to do with the way that they portrayed his wife within the film.
Okay. Well, I mean, they do put at the end of the film that the lawyer, it is not based on the lawyer is fiction, basically. So
Yes.
one understands.
Anyhow, the BBC are actively considering the film now.
Well, this is what I mean. I think to help the Spanish, it would have been a very good thing to go on air, but they're not interested in buying it. So
Well, maybe Sky could buy it and it'd be shown on Sky Television in Spain.
but I think Sky is just seen in Spain by foreigners that live in Spain, not the actual Spanish. It's the Spanish. It's really Spanish public that need to be made aware of this problem,
Yeah.
and this is where we're hitting our heads against the wall continuously. I'm trying to find ways of getting people, more aware of what happened. And
Well, maybe you could take a leaf out of our book and orchestrate a demonstration in front of the German embassy in Madrid.
But you know how many people would turn up in Madrid? I mean, not as many as today from Thalidomide.
No, but you see, not very many British thalidomiders were there today. A large number of British thalidomiders couldn't afford to come or couldn't afford to take the time off from their jobs to come. And I doubt whether there are more than 25 British thalidomiders there today, were there?
No, probably not.
So,
I mean, they have demonstrated several times in Spain.
Have they?
With no luck. Yes, if you go onto their website, you can see all their different.
Well, it may well be that the Spanish need to work with the ICTA to encourage actual support for demonstration from other countries as well. In other words, have an alliance demonstration in Madrid.
I think that's probably a very good route to go down because.
But I
Something
know
needs to
nothing
happen.
about the organisation of Avita.
Avita seems to be, Pepe runs it on his own. He's got a full-time job as he works in a town hall, and he seems to be, to me, he seems to be running it all on his own. I mean, he's got members and people pay a small amount of money to be members, but a one-man band doesn't go very far.
Well, we're sort of three-man band here in terms of the campaigning. I mean, the Thalidomide Trust is charged with the investment of the monies that it has and the appropriate allocation of the monies to thalidomiders according to their point system. It's not concerned with any fundraising. It's not concerned with any campaigns at all. I mean, Martin Johnson